Is anybody long Nvidia? Short? What are you guys doing? Who wants to make some shmoney? Let's go. Alright, so last quarter was insane. It did 18 billion. Yeah, that's the alpha right there. How many H100s did we buy? We actually let go net compute. So, you know, compute demands ebb and flow. And there's a dirty secret about Nvidia. Like, we have some ways to hack getting more compute out of Nvidia products. Let's just say that. I don't want to give away our secrets. George Hotz helped us out a little bit. Geo Hotz shout out. If you're not subscribed to George Hotz on Twitch and YouTube, you're stupid. That's all I gotta say. I don't care if you're offended. The man a genius. Kanye a genius. He might even be smarter than Kanye, let's be real. I don't know. I mean, Nvidia like kind of always trades down on the quarter. Like I don't even know that it could trade up possibly on this number. But I know, look, smarter people disagree with me. My colleague disagrees with me, so trading's hard, you know. If trading were easy, it'd be called printing money, but it turns out it's not that easy. I would sell that 11% implied move. That's I don't think it'll move 11%. As companies' market caps grow to the stratosphere like this one has, you know, the volatility tends to drop because you have everyone in the world trying to arbitrage it, right? So what are you trying to really accomplish with a $2 trillion company? You really think it's going to swing that much? I don't think so. So I would sell the straddle, right? We'll look at that in a second. Possibly selling the straddle is a good trade idea. Now, you sell a straddle, you can get screwed, right? So you want to sell a strangle maybe, but even then you could still get screwed. That's where we go to the iron condor. No, I'm kidding. That's when we break out the differential equations. You know ODB, I know ODE. Ordinary differential equations. Used quite a bit in AI, it turns out. So whenever somebody says, oh, you're not supposed to learn calculus, who cares, you're never going to use calculus, ha! It took about 30 years, but we found a reason to use calculus. Other than calculating the weight on a bridge or the trajectory of a bullet, which is what they teach you in college or high school if you're me, or middle school or grammar school, actually. But, you know, I had to relearn it in high school after learning it, you know, as a child as well. I'm kidding, of course. But, you know, you use chain rule and partials and ordinary differentials, stochastic differentials, and as well as even Jacobians. And, of course, linear algebra is the whole story behind AI. Beaver Boy, yeah, what's up, man? My style of investing is value, binary events, special sits, private equity. I don't do pod. You have to have billions of dollars to do the pod thing correctly, where you farm out, you know, your capital to 10 or 20 talented traders. The pod shops like Citadel, they're basically a fund of funds in a way, right? Where they might have, say, $10 billion, but Jim might manage 500 million, Stacy will manage 200 million, and Jack will manage $1 billion, and, you know, Rosie will manage 2 billion, you know, and you just parse it out, and as they go up and down, they're almost like stocks themselves. Whereas you say Steve Cohen trades people. You trade stocks, he trades people. It's a good business, you know. If Jack has a hot hand, you give him more capital. Jack's going cold, might be time to hit the road, Jack. Hit the road, Jack. Won't you come back no more? Without your bonus. Preferably. SMCI, kind of crazy too. When you read books, is there any tips or tricks you do to retain the info? God damn, you know, that's the hardest thing of being a human. I wish we could retain info better. What I do is I have this chip, see? And with this chip, I take these electrodes and I stick them to my face. So once I do that, I can retain the info a little bit better. I don't think the LPU is a big deal at all. So once the electrodes are... I had these on last night, actually. They're pretty uncomfortable for now, but we gotta make them comfy. So we just put them in different parts of my face and forehead and turn up the electricity. That's what I would do to study. No, in all seriousness, I think that you have to just read a lot. You know, that's read a lot, read as much as you can. Get all the time-wasting activity you can out of your day. The problem is we're not meant to read all day, so our brains tend to go on overload, and we need ways to relax. And I was listening to Elon talk the other night, you know, and he said he plays Diablo to relax. That was cool, because I know that feeling. But you know, you have to push yourself like an athlete, almost, to work as hard as you can. And that makes it a little more palatable to think of it that way, but it really is that way, because if you can only put in 2 quality hours a day, well, that sucks. Nobody can put in 15 quality hours a day, but you can try. And the more you try, and the more you keep yourself healthy, you got to keep yourself emotionally healthy, then maybe you could do it, you know? But it's not easy, man. Alright, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I think I messed this up. If anybody noticed my mistake, let me know. Minus 337 plus 405 minus 4482. This will be done in a second, folks. And I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. You know, everybody said my 15 minutes of fame were coming to an end in 2015. So yeah, something's not balancing in my balances. So we just gotta look over this again. This should add up to 14,475. It adds up to 17,475. It adds up to 17,474. This should add up to 2,555. This adds up to 1,121. This adds up to 24. This adds up to negative 2,411. Now the other is negative 170. Good. Now this part's a little fucked. Trying to figure out if I made a typo or not. Doesn't look like it. Keep looking at it. I think it's maybe these two numbers that are fucked, but either way, we're just gonna put this in yellow and get back to it. All right. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I'm not subtracting the prior 2 quarters. This is 9 months. Right? So now this works. Noob mistake, my friends. Noob mistake. Alright. Look at the CapEx that Nvidia spends, like literally 0. Like their CapEx is literally computers, right? Like office space. Look at the acquisitions too. They don't buy other people's companies. They just ball. I got Nvidia envy. I think everyone has Nvidia envy. Every company in America wishes they were Nvidia right now. Although, who knows, that could come to an end. Personally, again, I have a hard time saying anything bad about the company because, you know, we're sort of partnered, and you know, it's a great company, but there's a big difference between a great company and a great stock. A very big difference, in fact. Okay, cool. Let's go look at... They have like a little revenue breakdown. It's not that meaningful. Well, it actually is kind of meaningful. Take it back. Any information the company gives you is meaningful. All right, here's the segment information. Compute and networking. They have an even, there it is, data center. Look at that growth, man. Unbelievable, right? Data center, 14,514. Gaming went up a huge amount. That was unexpected to me, at least. Automotive was flattish. And visualization also went up a bit. They have an other line as well. I'm going to do last year's too. Okay, cool. So let's check their guidance. So we're expecting the earnings report at about an hour and 20 minutes maybe. And it'll be interesting. This is almost like Super Bowl for finance. Nvidia's on everyone's mind. And yeah, it's just a wild story. Let's see, I want to go to investor relations. Quarterly results or something. I hate Nvidia's IR website, to be honest. Oh, is anybody going to go to GTC? If so, maybe I'll see you there. This is Nvidia's annual conference. It's gotten more and more important. Okay, well, here's the outlook. They're planning on 20 billion. Holy shit. Gross margins of 75. Data center has become almost the entire company. So what do you think? Will gaming grow? It almost doesn't matter, right? Is gaming cyclical? I don't even know their gaming chip business that well. It's been many years since I did it. Since I cared about it. Alright, data center. I'm just gonna leave blank and for now. Assume this is flat. Assume this is up a lot. Assume this is flat. So what would it take to get to 20 billion, which is their guidance? 18 billion in revenue, which sequentially, it doesn't make a lot of sense to look at Nvidia revenue year over year, but we'll do it anyway. But the sequential revenue, and especially data center sequential revenue, it'll be kind of interesting to look at it that way, because you can kind of think about, well, like, what are the surrogates for this? So they're telling us that data center revenue is going to grow 25% or 24%. Let's see where the stock is real quick. Yeah, this bad boy is going to move. I'm watching on the Godel terminal. If you want to try it out, you can go to godelnum.com. Sign up. This is software created by yours truly, me and my team. I've been working on this software for like 7 years. Still not ready to be released. It's just for me and my friends right now. But I like it because I can make this like my whole screen. It's kind of neat. In fact, you can get a flat screen that's like 200 inches and just like have this all day long for Bitcoin or whatever you want. And does this thing flash if I want it to? Can this flash? Yeah. Or it does flash. Yeah, it is sort of flashing. Is it? No, I like the yellow flash. We took the yellow flash out, but it's a little bit hard in the eyes for most people, but I like it. It's probably good to keep out, but all right. So you can see that. I just want to kind of annotate some of this stuff, like some of the data points of the H100 cycle. I think that'll be interesting. Earnings kind of doesn't matter to Nvidia. It's all about the revenue number. But obviously their earnings are going through the roof, but they have a lot of operating leverage, so that's going to make it a little bit hard to see kind of what the earnings will be necessarily, right? So it's really all about that revenue. So I would say, just off the top of my head, I would say off the top of my head that they probably would have to come out with 22 billion for the stock to go up, maybe more. But we're going to go through that in a minute. I'm just sort of like guessing. And I kind of want to think about like, well, what do I measure to figure out, how do I figure out how many H100s were sold without breaking law? You're not supposed to know, but there's a way to, if you get back into it, that's not illegal. If the Nvidia CFO tells you that is illegal, but if you can kind of back into it, it is perfectly fine to do your research. So I'm thinking there's a few ways to do this. One of the things we can do, well, so one of the data points I have is our cloud providers have not lowered price, they've actually raised price. So that is interesting. Because if demand were slackening, they would not be raising price, right? If there were too many GPUs, they would be lowering price or at least keeping it flat. But it takes a lot of guts to raise price unless you have demand at the yin yang. It's an old phrase. You have to bear with me. I spent 4 or 5 years away from society. No cap. So alternative data is not going to help that much. We saw the Zuck thing. That is right, OHED. Thank you for that. But alt data is not going to be useful because people aren't putting too many Nvidias on credit cards. I don't think Newegg is a real Nvidia channel for H100s and A100s. The telepathy tool is not ready yet. I'm not supposed to talk about it, but yes, eventually we're we're making a interesting tool. I'll have more to say about it later this year. It's in early stages. We're doing something very similar to Meta. If you want to look into their neural interfaces, you can. But yeah, we're making potentially making a neural interface. We'll see. I don't want to commit to that just yet. Anyway, what's up, Kosovars? So Wall Street thinks Nvidia is going to come out at the guidance number, or even below it, and there's a little Wall Street gamesmanship with that, but they've said 20 billion, right? I hate Macs sometimes. Actually, I hate Macs every day. It's another story. It's just hard to alt-tab between Safari or Chrome browsers, I guess. Alright, so they're saying 20 billion. And the way Nvidia does business is they don't say 20 billion if they're thinking it's going to be 20 billion. They say 20 billion if they're thinking it's going to be 22 billion, right? In fact, that's one thing we can do that's kind of interesting is look at their kind of prior guidance and how they kind of handle that. And then we'll look at kind of like a maybe like trying to estimate how many GPUs everyone's buying. Okay, here we go. So last quarter, I think I remember pretty clearly they said 16 billion, right? Yeah. And they ended up doing 20, no, they ended up doing 18, right? And people were kind of shocked by that, if I'm not mistaken. So they beat by 2 billion. So why shouldn't they beat by 2 billion again, right? What's up, Twiziri? You're asking about voice cloning for the software we released today called Vits API. I'm so happy that you asked. We're building voice cloning. It's coming soon. But this is the cheapest, lowest latency API of all time. I'm going to do the Spanish voice, but I have Albanian. I've got more languages, actually, than any other cloud provider, and we're the cheapest price for any other cloud provider. So for Spanish, it's...
Vuelvo a casa, a mi amada tierra, la que vio nacer mi corazón aquí.
Yo soy el grande maricón.
Yo soy el grande maricón.
Not bad. It's got my stamp of approval. So if you are a developer and you use text-to-speech APIs, we make the cheapest one, the fastest one, and the most amount of languages. Even faster, cheaper, and better than Azure, Google Cloud, and Amazon. So we're actually 90% off most of those guys. The quality isn't maybe comparable to 11 Labs, but it's still 99% off. And if you need low latency, you can see our latency is 150 milliseconds. The latency of our rivals is like a full second or something, so it's kind of useless. So 86 languages, that's more than every single other company. We calculated that very painstakingly. In fact, I can show you the quickly. I know not everyone's interested in this, but real quick, you can see that to synthesize the first paragraph of Moby Dick, our program can do that in 800 milliseconds. And this startup called Google does it in twice the time, and another small company called Microsoft does it 3 times faster, or 3 times slower, as does the other Amazon product. And then when you look at these real brand new companies like OpenAI, they're just too slow. I wouldn't use them for fast, a fast product. And then they don't have any languages. Like, we have the most languages, And these pesky startups, these upstarts, just don't have the languages. And look at the price. It's crazy. The price is legit. I have it over here somewhere. Look at the price difference. 75% off, just 2 products, and then everything else is like 80, 90% off. I mean, you need more decimals to see how much, like 99.0, 99.4. Like, I don't know why you would use those other products, because ultimately you can't scale if you have a lot of users. It's good to make one audio file, but if you need to make millions of custom audio files, you really can't do that with 11 Labs or PlayHT. $180 for a million characters, you'll go broke. Even if they reduce their price to like $30, it's still not good enough. And we're trying to get our price even lower. You know, they never used to price per million characters. We did that. It used to be price per 1,000 characters. Now we do price per million. Soon we'll do price per billion. You know, they don't like that, the sound of that. I don't care. I'm here to take your software, make it cheaper, give it to the people. It's a different Shkreli. Just be careful. I could always raise the price. I don't think we'll do that, but I'm just kidding. All right, let's look at the Q1 for Nvidia. They said they do 11, and they did 13. So last 2 quarters, they beat by 2 billion each. And look, I kind of feel like they're going to do that again. There's nothing that's changed in AI, from what I can tell, that they shouldn't be doing that, right? Your margin is my opportunity. Thank you, David Lee. Shkreli back in the office. Shkreli, stay in the office, man. I was here till 2 a.m. last night. I got home to my cat Nibbles at 2:30. She was crying. Meow, meow, meow. Why did you come home so late? I gave her some tuna. I patted her head. That was it. I went to sleep. We spun down our game. We spent a little bit of money on that, but it didn't meet our milestones, so we kill software very fast here. So if we do a project and it doesn't meet like very, very tough milestones, we kill it. And so I'm really happy that you know, we've worked that out. There should be no adults filter, but you know, I'll talk to you about that operatic later. That's a really cool idea. All right. So yeah, no game. We were making a game that used AI to showcase kind of some of our technologies. And maybe I'll pick it up again, but like we refactored it to Unity, and I don't really know Unity that well, and you know, it kind of got spun out of scope very fast. So if I started over, I'm gonna do it again. We did close a financing round. A16Z was not involved in that round. But some very famous investors invested. Very happy, very proud of our team for being able to attract some of the best investors in the world. Crypto token for AI. Like, look, I mean, we'd love to, but there's no real common sense way to do that, from what I can tell. Crypto and AI don't really mix so great. It'd be nice to have, like, compute you could do with crypto, maybe, but there's companies like Salad that do compute. Obviously, Lambda and others that you can get compute if you need it. It's just very expensive. And Salad is a company, Salad.com, that's renting out GPUs, consumer GPUs. So you can actually sign up with them. They should be paying me an advertisement right now. But if you sign up with Salad.com, what you do is you can rent out your Nvidia gaming GPU, and you can make a couple $100 an hour, which is kind of neat. Like I said, if the Salad guy's watching, you owe me one, man. You owe me some free GPUs on some bullshit. All right. All right, so they beat that by a mile. Let's look at the guidance for the quarter they didn't beat by a mile. That might be interesting, right? They said they do 6.50. Josh asks a good question. Why do our competitors charge so much for such a high latency? I'm really glad you asked that, and I'm really sorry, you guys who don't care about my TTS product. Text-to-speech. If you want to make an app and you want it to have audio, like for example, all these LLMs that spit out all that language content, all that text, they should go to audio because people hate reading. We almost call the company TLDR because people really don't like large amounts of text. When we launched Dr. Gupta, that's what we found. That's why we made our own TTS, because we found these guys to be too expensive. So the reason these guys are expensive is because they have a very high quality product called Tortoise. Now we're coming out with something even better than Tortoise, much faster, much cheaper. So when we're ready with that, these companies are basically dead. It's game over. In the meantime, we're putting out models that are high quality. They're not as high quality as these guys, but they're pretty good. And again, for these guys, they're really good if you want to make one file. If you want to make one audio file, they're a good product. But if you want to make audio files for 100,000 users on a website, you just can't use them. Now so these guys are just in outer space with their product pricing, right? Now, I think we're really competing with the cloud guys, which I'm highlighting here. Amazon, Google, Azure, Amazon has a couple models. And you can see that their prices are a lot closer to ours. In fact, Google and Amazon are at $4 for a million characters, and their latency is quite good. I mean, Amazon technically has faster latency than us. And we're rolling out a CDN network, so we know a couple of hops that we can remove. I think we can get to 50 milliseconds and beat Amazon and Google. But right now we're at 150 milliseconds, at least from a New York server. We're going to add a California server, and then we're going to remove maybe some of the other hops that it has to make, and maybe we get to 80 or 50, something like that. But the languages thing is also pretty important. Like, we have 86 languages. We got Nigerian Pidgin, Hausa. We got languages you've never heard of. Tok Pisin. We've got Tswana, which is spoken in Botswana. We've got languages like Kurundi. And of course we've got German and French and English and all that. But that's kind of the situation. So anyway, I think our rivals have just like somewhat normal pricing, but we're just coming in and totally undercutting them. 75% off Google and Amazon. Same latency basically, but more languages. So that's our kind of way to compete. Now, these guys, as you can imagine, they have a captive audience. I mean, if you're on AWS for S3 or EC2, if you're on Google Cloud for their versions of that, you just point and click and you got a new TTS product. It's a lot easier than adding another vendor. So I think they have their enterprise clients, and we sort of have to get name recognition that they already have. So anyway, here Nvidia guided to 6.5 billion versus 7.2 in actual. And so that was a smaller beat, and that was kind of before the H100 ship. When was the H100 first shipment? Let's take a look at that. Q1 23. So that was the hot. Well, that was weird because that was, yeah, it was right around here, right? So around here, H100 started shipping. When can you buy Neat stock? Well, Neats is a product at our company called DL Software. We're a privately held company. We're 1 year old. We've raised some venture capital, some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley. And I'm really grateful people are giving me a second chance. That's really nice of the world. Some of these people feel I was treated a little bit unfairly. I know some of you guys think that too. But there's people out there that think I wasn't treated unfairly enough. So, and if you're one of those people, fuck you. Yo. Is this urgent? Okay, it is not urgent. Okay, so Q1 23. Let's see where the other. So they said 5. That was a prank by a friend of ours, the first AI nation. Alright, so one way to look at it is like, you know, sort of H100 volume. And so if you take this and divide by 40, you sort of get 450,000 H100s, right? Do I have this math right? 450,000 times 40,000 is 18 billion. Let's just double check that on the side here. As I got older, my math skills are getting even better. Alright, that is 18 billion. So the question is, how much could they ship? And, you know, one question is, are they capacity constrained? And I think the answer to that is yes. So, okay. But we can also back into, like, how many did they ship last quarter? And I don't think they're shipping a whole lot of other data center products other than the H100. So we're making the assumption that that's it, right? So they would have shipped 300K. And now we're going to actually, like, try to figure out, okay, like, Meta, their big customers would be Meta, Google, maybe even OpenAI, although I'm thinking they're going through Microsoft. Do we add that into one company or not? I'm not sure. Let's just try that for now. Let's add our friends at Character AI just for fun. Let me look at my AI spreadsheet, by the way. This is available on my GitHub. If you don't know how to use GitHub, I suggest you do. I think it's going to become a bigger tool even for people in finance. Let's see if I have this thing open. I don't. Alright, so let's look at the biggest AI companies by valuation and see who these chip buyers are. Okay, so we got Google, Microsoft, of course we forgot AWS. And then we've got like Lambda and CoreWeave who buy GPUs. We're a client of Lambda, which we highly recommend. Shout out to Lambda. Tesla's probably buying some. Is Baidu buying some? Maybe. Not that many, probably, but... You know, academics buy these too. So universities and government. And remember, some of these companies are buying for their cloud side, and some of them are buying for their internal side. So keep that in mind. Like Google is kind of different from GCP. And even Microsoft is different from Azure, which is different from OpenAI, which is kind of crazy. And Amazon AI is actually different from AWS. So it's kind of a interesting way they handle that. What else am I missing? What am I missing? Is Palantir buying these chips? I don't know. Tencent? Yeah, maybe Tencent. We're making some party. Waymo and Anthropic? Yeah, I guess. Probably Anthropic more than Waymo. I hate Anthropic. Maybe Hugging Face, although they probably don't have the capital. I think that's it in terms of noteworthy customers. All right, so now Meta said how many did they want? Meta H100 order. And Nvidia's ASP may be closer to 30K, right? By the end of this year, we're going to have around 350K. So the question is, how much did they have when they said that? Tough one. So Meta. Oh yeah, ByteDance, good one. Thank you for that. So if Meta had 100 when he said that, do you think that's fair? Yeah, we have a Discord. Why do you hear it? I hope you don't hear it. Optum? Like Optum United Healthcare? What are we talking about? Healthcare now? Alright. So yeah, it sounds like if they did 50 each. Oh yeah, Oracle, good idea. Oracle and IBM. So maybe they had like, this was the pace of Meta's purchasing. I would think that Microsoft is going to be similar. But pretty close here. It's almost 30 minutes left. So let's see if we can triangulate how this all happens. I would think OpenAI has a similar scope to Meta. I still play League of Legends, yes. 30,000 H100 sounds a little high for hyperscale. GCP, I don't think it's going to have too many, but Google actually might buy more than GCP. I'm just trying to see who would want to ramp sales. I don't think Salesforce would have too many. Maybe Alibaba. He said 600K H100 equivalents. The problem is I'm not sure how these things ramp. Like, they ramp with capacity, or... Are they gonna stop buying when they reach their target? I don't know if these guys need this many chips either. I don't think so. Alright, so it looks like I'm overestimating a little bit here. Let me see if I can curve fit. So we're comparing these two lines, basically. Okay, that's just about right. Well... That's right, within a couple. see here. Nvidia reports earnings in about half an hour. Okay, so Microsoft Meta says 350. This adds up to 316. Whoa. That means, goddamn. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Now, will Google proper... Okay, I think they're gonna beat. I think they might beat earnings. They need to hit 450, but they might do more like 650. Let's see. Hold on. Well, IBM doesn't buy a lot. Let's slow down. Oracle, government, and academics. CoreWeave's probably not going to buy that much. Amazon AI, AWS. Maybe AWS buys a little less. I don't know. It's hard to know how hard the cloud will ramp. Like, so that's the major question here, basically, is like, will GCP, Azure, and AWS, how ham will they go? And then, of course, the point being made in the chat, that's right, is where does guidance go? Holy moly, yeah. If they can hit that number, could you imagine if they gave 28 billion forward guidance? Wall Street is at 20.5. Okay, so they're gonna beat here. They'll beat by 2 billion, and guidance could be as high as 26 billion. But I don't know that it goes up. So that's my guess. That's my prediction. All right, guys. They're going to print 22.7 billion, and their guide to 28 billion.
Side of things, that's just because there's more API servers.
I think so. The one thing is anons can establish a socket connection.
Okay.
So I think what
That's
I'm seeing.
That's what Red is.
Yeah. So once, but there's a timeout with cache too. So I think there's the reddish cache for Postgres. So I think it's just a combination of issues. But I'm seeing like thousands of.
Yeah, it's a little less than I thought it would be. 22,103.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that they're.
You get IP loss.
What's that?
You get IP loss. I think if you're running through
I think I should have. I'm pretty sure.
Heroku should go ahead.
And guidance was a little lower, 24 billion. I thought it'd be 26.
It's like the React.
Not like logging prices or anything like that.
No, just the connections. That's it. That's anything logging.
Gaming did better than I thought too. So data center was, I don't know, data center wasn't that great, which is probably why the stock traded down a little bit. It's amazing how much it's come back from down 5%. What a crazy, crazy, after hours is always schizophrenic.
Do you want to check? This is asking.
Sure. Thanks. All right. Well, I'll leave it you guys to listen to the conference call. I think it was pretty much as expected here. It's interesting that even with a huge guidance number, that's kind of what everyone expected. Again, something like 26 billion would have been a little better, but the revenue kind of came in. What was my prediction? I think it came in kind of. It was a little light versus my prediction. $22719. Yeah, that's pretty light. 600 million light. And guidance of 26 was definitely light. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. You know, make sure you tweet at Elon Musk, and just say unban at Martin Shkreli. So I'm using this wagey thing that I'm not sure anybody knows is me, but yeah, that's the only thing I ask of you guys. I really appreciate it. Check out Godel, check out the Neats API. I'll see you guys soon. I'm gonna try to stream a little more often. I really appreciate everyone hanging out with me, and listen to Jensen, and we'll see you at 5 o'clock